So hi, Dave Rossum.
Hi.
We're here at Superbooth again.
Right, second year.
Second year, and you're showing the Assimil8or.
Right, we've got the Assimil8or, and I call it tissueware. It's not the complete product by any means, but we've made quite a bit of progress, and so we can demonstrate most of the features. There's still a lot more work to be done that will improve the fidelity, and the version we got here is just only playing one voice at a time. The final module will play all 8 simultaneously, 8 voice polyphonically.
Excellent. So this is it here.
That's the beast, yes.
So what have you got going on at the moment then?
So I've got 8 different sounds loaded into it. Some of them are traditional sample sounds. I've got a trumpet sound, a piano sound, a violin down here. Got a drum sequence going into there.
Despite our best efforts,
Ronald Reagan on a radio recording right there, and then some synth waveforms, noise, a pulse waveform, and a sawtooth waveform there. So a whole handful of just different waveforms that we can play with.
So do you want to just kind of talk through the architecture a little bit there?
It's a sampler, so it's playing a sample and then modulating that in a variety of different ways, coming out to the stereo outputs down here. So, for example, this particular sound, the trumpet, as I hold it down, it's now going into a loop, and when I release the key, it will artificially decay on the sound, and the decay, like all the other parameters, is programmable, so I can take that from a very quick decay to a quite slow decay. And we've got options. I can play it just one shot without a decay sound, and it'll just play through the sample. I can make it loop forever if I wanted to do that, or make it not loop at all. So that's the basic sample playback idea. The interesting thing, of course, is the modulation. For example, in the pulse waveform here, I already have hooked up an LFO coming into the frequency modulation of this. So this will just give us an FM pulse waveform. More interesting are things like, that's exponential FM, 1 volt per octave. We also have linear FM, so on this trumpet sound, once again, if I adjust the display down here and go to control linear FM, on the module, each of the control voltages patches will have an attenuverter that you can set. I'll be controlling the attenuverter for linear FM right here, and we've got an LFO coming into that that's modulating the frequency. Familiar linear FM sound on the trumpet sample.
So are all the kind of parameters for the sample accessible by the kind of CV inputs?
Right, exactly. The idea is with 3 CV inputs, you can put in 3 different envelopes, LFOs, things like that, and then each one of those can be routed to one or more of the various sample parameters. And those go beyond just pitch. We've got, I'll demonstrate in just a minute, the phase modulation. That's really a lot of fun. But you can also modulate loop length. In the violin here, I've got, in this case, when we go into the loop, there'll be an LFO modulating the actual loop size. That kind of unusual modulation on the sound in there. It's a little bit like phased syncs. So it's one of the great many things we can do. On the voice sample down here, we've got our bit depth modulation. So I'll go into here.
Despite our best efforts, shortages of marijuana are now being reported. The U.S. military has more than tripled
the number of bits
among its personnel since 1980. Our goal is to expand drug trafficking at all levels of government and in the private sector. Help us.
And you can tell also from that demonstration The bit depth, unlike a lot of bit crushers that just have 1, 2, 3 bits, that's a fully dynamic control. You can get fractional numbers of bits, and it all just moves very continuously. Makes a really nice modulation sound that it's one more thing you can do. So let's go on to the phase modulation. That's really the most fun thing we've got going right now. Again, we'll just use the trumpet sound here. And we're going to modulate that with the piano sound. So set things up here so that I'm adjusting with this control what we call the modulation index. Right now, no modulation is happening. As I turn the control up, sorry, I misprogrammed myself here. As I turn the control up, oh, I see something else that I did wrong here. Let's go back to modulating by the piano here. So let's try that again. Hear the transit of the piano, just doing a very interesting kind of thing.
So is the piano being played whenever you whenever you trigger the original the trumpet sample? Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so what we're just doing here is modulating the what we call the modulation index. Again, that can be modulated directly. It also can be modulated through an attenuverter on the final module. And there's a whole lot of different things you can do with the phase modulation, more than we can get into in the little demo here. But it's a really interesting and unusual modulation for sampling. And I think people are really going to love the sound of it.
So what is the kind of maximum sample times and stuff like that?
There's a lot of sample memory in here. It's going to be hundreds of seconds. How many hundred I can't answer right now because there's a little more development, and some of the things I'm doing take up memory. But it's going to have a lot of sample memory in there.
Excellent. And it's stereo input and then stereo output, right?
Yeah. Now the stereo output is just a panned version of the monophonic outputs here. So the stereo inputs, you can sample left and right into 2 different channels and then use that as a stereo pair. The sampling input will have a variable sample rate up to 192 kHz, so that if you want to take in sounds with a lot of ultrasonic energy in them and pitch shift that down into the sonic space, you'll be able to do that. The output of the thing is of course analog, but the D-to-A converters are running in somewhere in the 44 to 48 kHz range, whatever we come to land on in that.
So is the sampling input DC coupled? So
yeah, everything's DC coupled.
So you could essentially sample CVs, right?
Exactly, and you know, with the pitch shifting will allow you to go up 5 octaves and down as much as 15. So you can take even sounds down and use your sounds as CVs. Everything's going to be DC coupled.
Wow, that's really, really weird. So if you could take, say, a recording of a piano or something, and then pitch it down, and then use that as a modulation on, say, an oscillator or whatever you've got in the rest of your system.
Or a different sample even. Yeah, and then you can envelope that in between and so on. You know, there's just a huge number of possibilities here.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely wild.
It's going to be, the audio erector set kind of thing. I'll just be amazed at all the things people do with it.
Well, you do have a great heritage in sampling, right? So, so it's good to be coming from. Well, thank you very much, Ross.
You're very welcome. Glad to show it to you.